As we continue our little trip through the high school yearbook from Port Huron High for the last 100 years, one of the things that we noticed, especially early on, was how much literature and arts were stressed. And from that came the drama club, or the school play club as it was earlier referred to. These pictures that you're looking at now are all school plays put on by the high school in the early 1900s. And as the years went by, more and more comedy was inserted into these productions, which the crowd enjoyed. This is a photograph of a very early drama class taken back in 1915, and it appears to be on the steps of the old junior college. The high school didn't really have the facilities to put on stage plays. And so most of the theater productions for the high school were done at the Majestic Theater, which usually were performed in front of a very appreciative crowd. Back then, when there was very little to do for entertainment, they had packed houses for the high school plays. In this news clipping that was shared by Fred Feldhaus, it says this: "High school play goes over big with capacity crowd. Seniors present green stockings with well-trained and capable cast. The Majestic Theater was filled to capacity Wednesday night by an enthusiastic audience which witnessed the senior play." And of course, this is a photograph of the inside of the Majestic Theater. Note that there's audience seating in 3 tiers of the theater. Most of us remember the Majestic Theater as a movie theater. But before that, it was very similar to an opera house putting on mostly stage plays. These next 2 advertisements for the Majestic Theater was shared by Mark Rommel. And in this first one, you can see they're advertising the musical comedy, The Girl. All seats reserved, 15, 25, 35, and 50 cents. What a deal. And the coming attractions: Pilgrim's Progress and The Face Upon the Floor. Face Upon the Floor is a poemograph, presents a distinct novelty, the human voice talking picture. Souvenirs on Tuesday. You'll see by this next ad that the Majestic was behind the family in the Desmond Theater as far as getting talking moving pictures. The Desmond Theater was showing the movie The Cockeyed World. All talking, singing, all dancing stars. The Family Theater was showing the movie Street Girl. And it says on this one, "See and hear Betty Compson." What I'd like to have you look at, though, is something you really can't see. In the bottom left-hand corner, it says "Notice to Majestic Patrons." The Majestic Theater was going to be closed that Wednesday to install Movietone and Vitaphone sound equipment. Vitaphone was the sound system they used to make the first talking movies. The first talking movie that they used this system was The Jazz Singer with Al Jolson. I say the first talking movie, at least for commercial purposes. Up until this time, all the music in the theater came from a piano or an organ, or sometimes an orchestra, but not very often. If you watch my previous 160 videos, you know that sometimes I can get off topic. And so I'm going to deviate from the drama department at the high school and get into the movie making business because, well, I found it extremely interesting, and I thought perhaps you might too. In this next video clip you're about to see, it shows you how Vitaphone made the first talking movies.
Are you ready, Mr. Heller?
Let's hit your lights, Ernie. Come on, boy.
They're not actually filming a movie here. They're actually doing an illustration of how they would. And what they're doing is filming 2 of these fellas here doing a musical duet.
All the time in the tropical climb where they do that funny, funny dance. I fell in love with the tropical dove while doing that funny, funny dance. Oh, the poor little kid, she never did.
In this next video clip, they show how they did the audio by recording it on a record and then synchronizing it with the film.
This is the form of record that is employed. Now I've placed the record on the turntable and also located the reproducing element ready to start for reproduction of the record itself. You'll recall I mentioned this electrical reproducing element as being the device to which is attached a needle which follows the grooves in the record. The movement of this needle generating an electric current, very weak, which is amplified, and the current then goes to the special loud-speaking telephones which are mounted adjacent to the motion picture screen. We will operate the rest of the mechanism and show the picture completely as it is now recorded on the screen for your benefit.
All the time in the tropical climb where they do that funny, funny dance. I fell in love with a tropical dove while doing that funny, funny dance. Oh, the poor little kid, she never did have a bit of loving before.
Well, we're not going to watch the whole song, you get the idea. And there you have it, an invention that would change history. Can you imagine what it was like to view the first talking movie in a theater? The anticipation alone must have been tremendous. There were ads put in the newspaper. There were full-page color advertisements put in magazines. There were posters that were put up around town. And there were billboards advertising the best thing since sliced bread. A week or two before the movie would hit the theaters, patrons of the movie would see a talking film put out by Vitaphone, hyping not only the jazz singer, but also their wonderful sound invention, the Vitaphone. So this in itself must have been pretty amazing, because this is the first time they heard sound coming from the screen, although it is actually coming from speakers on each side of the screen. Here's what they saw.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am privileged to say a few words to you in this most modern and novel manner. Privileged because it's the first living Vitaphone announcement ever made announcing the coming of one of the year's outstanding pictures. What is the picture? Oh, well, of course, you've guessed that I'm referring to Warner Brothers' supreme triumph, Al Jolson in The Jazz Singer. Through this marvelous invention, Vitaphone, you are also going to be able to hear him talk as well as sing. And, oh, mamma, how that bird can warble. Now, I'm going to show you how they were trying to get in to see the opening performance of The Jazz Singer in New York City. Now, I'm not going to take up any more of your time, but don't forget, at this theater, Al Jolson in The Jazz Singer. Good night.
When the time finally came to see The Jazz Singer, I think the audience might have been a little disappointed because the movie started out much like a regular silent film. With the exception of the orchestra, music was coming from the screen rather than inside the theater. I think if people today saw a man like this eating at a table, they would think he was having a convulsion or some type of a seizure. But he was a happy camper.
Wonderful pals are always hard to find. Some folks have one, some folks have none. And I was alone for years, but fate was kind. And in the end...
And there you have it, The Jazz Singer. Movies would never be the same again. When we were looking at this ad previously, I told you the Majestic was preparing for a new sound system for Vitaphone. But not only for Vitaphone, they were also preparing a new sound system for Movietone. Vitaphone was for showing movies from Warner Brothers, and Movietone was for showing movies from Fox Studios. The Movietone was much more advanced. They didn't use a record. They actually put the sound right on the film. And today they could even show that film on the projectors today as long as they weren't digital projectors. So it really was quite advanced, more so than Vitaphone, and that was the one that would eventually win out and become the norm for the movie industry. For most of us, the first time we became exposed to Movietone was in the Movietone news. I know we all remember these. Before the internet and television, this was the best way to see the news. Here's an early clip.
The Flying Flea, flown by Clyde Pangburn, round the world conqueror of oceans. Look out, Pang, or it'll get in your hair. A flip of a finger starts the motor at Roosevelt Field, New York. Weight 350 pounds, 20-foot wing spread, 10 feet long, 20 horsepower, 4 gallons of gas. A French midget to sell for $300. And Clyde Pangburn is heading for a breathless takeoff. Watch that flea dip a wing and nearly crash. Right there, we nearly lost one of our greatest aviators, the man who flew round the world and the Pacific non-stop. It's a tricky flea in the air. Look out or it'll land in somebody's shirt.
All right, what were we originally talking about? Oh yes, the Portrait High School Drama Department. How did I get so far off topic? Well, you know me, I just go where it leads. Did you notice in this ad here, on the left side it talked about the Majestic sound system coming, but on the right side it says high school play, The Queen's Husband. I also found this in one of my books showing a stage play that was put on at the Majestic Theater by the high school drama team. These are the kind of pictures that showed up in the early high school yearbooks. Today, Well, the drama department pictures in the yearbook are a little different. Well, I guess that's progress. Or maybe not. Join me in my next video and we'll see if we can't finish up Fort Huron High School yearbooks.